Their intonation is what told you what they really meant. And you need to know these things so that everything you say is extremely clear to your listener and your emotion is accurately reflected in what you're saying. Intonation refers to the music of English, the highs and lows. It includes stress and rhythm. We'll talk about rising intonation, falling intonation, flat intonation, intonation with lists and choices, and when we break the rules, because that happens a lot and it definitely changes the meaning. The first type of intonation in English is called rising intonation. This really just means that we're singing from a low pitch to a high pitch. This low to high singing refers to the end of what you're saying. Rising intonation is used when we're using very specific types of questions that are closed questions or yes/no questions. A question that does not start with who, what, where, when, why, how. These questions start with words like does, are, is, did, and can. When you use an upward intonation at the very end of what you're saying, you're indicating that you're asking a question that you want someone else to finish. So if you think of an interaction like you're starting the slide up and the person who's going to answer is going to slide down. They're going to give the answer. This is an important analogy because I will be talking about when we break rules, and so that slide will come back. So let's practice some upward intonation together. When you finish the question, find yourself singing higher and out of your normal comfort zone. The goal here is to just feel and hear that difference that is not your typical intonation pattern. It might feel strange. It might feel like you're singing a bit, but don't worry, I won't tell anyone if you're not a good singer. Neither am I, so we're in the same boat. The goal is just to feel the difference and feel the intonation going up, and we can make it our own later. Awareness first. I'll say the question, then you repeat after, using your high intonation. Are you sure? Did you see it? Does it still work? Is it ready? Can you believe that? Did she bring the keys with her? So that brings me to the next type of intonation, which is called falling intonation. This is the intonation to really focus on because this is what we use most of the time. Falling intonation is like singing into a deep low pitch at the end of your statement or utterance. Think of it like going into the deep tones of your voice. Instead of You'll want to go a little bit out of your comfort zone and go a bit lower and a bit more exaggerated into a downward intonation. A falling intonation is used for all statements. It's to indicate certainty. It's to indicate authority. Whenever you're making a command or telling somebody what to do, you're going to use a downward intonation. And on top of that, to make it a bit more confusing, anytime you use a question that starts with who, what, where, when, why, and how, those are also downward intonation patterns. So if you want to master confidence and certainty, sound more authoritative, use the downward intonation skills. I'll say the phrase first, you repeat using your strong downward intonation. Thank you. Good morning. Notice there is an up, but the point here is that you're going down at the very end. How nice of you. It's all finished. I'll have another. It was so nice to see you yesterday. Have a great day. If you decide to stress a different word like day, you can do that too. Keep an eye on going up and down. The wave is happening on the same syllable. Day. Have a nice day. But the important point is you didn't just linger up, you pulled down on the slide of intonation. Please have a seat. Let's go through some examples of questions that are WH questions and how we would use a downward intonation for those as well. Who is that? Where did he go? Why did he do that? When does it start? Why didn't you go today? Who's the new employee? Where did you get those shoes? How did you get there? Third type of intonation is flat intonation, and that's where we're not really going high or low at all. It's more of a pretty steady singing. Well, lack of singing, I guess that's a better way to put that one. No singing, just nothing. In general, this indicates disinterest. When there's no highs and lows, there's really no extra emphasis or energy being placed on the statement or question. If this is an issue you face where your first language really has that flat intonation, your goal is to find the word that you really like to stress, that has the greatest meaning, and work on getting a higher singing pitch and more of that waveform up and down, and really exaggerating the highs and lows at the ends of your statement or question. If even a tiny bit of this information is new to you, or you feel like you've gained a greater amount of knowledge about intonation, send me a little like. They're free. I'm pretty sure they're free. Let's practice some statements in flat intonation, but notice how it comes across as disinterested or not really full of energy. Good morning. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's super interesting. Is it though? When I say it like that? I would question me if I said it like that. Another type of intonation is when we use it in lists. If you're listing off various items, we tend to use an upward, upward, upward for all of the items in your list until you get to the end. On your final list item, a downward intonation. And the reason that's happening is because we're indicating to our listener, I'm not finished yet, there's more to say, I'm gonna say more, and now I'm done. Okay, so it's really just a way for your listener not to accidentally cut you off. And if you tend to use an upward intonation for most of the things you say, you may run into the problem where someone looks like they're waiting for you to say more, even though you're done talking. So we'll work on that downward intonation at the end. That's your main focus. But let's practice in lists and get the feeling of singing up and down at the end. I'll say the sentence first, and you repeat it. She bought a shirt, a pair of jeans, and some shoes. I need a camera, a printer, and a comfortable computer chair. I tried the cake, the cookies, the donuts, and even the ice cream. I emptied the place out. First I'll go to Paris, then Greece, and then finally Rome. I wish. I got the groceries, I filled the tank with gas, and then I started dinner. When you offer two choices, we're going to go up in intonation on the first choice and down on the second, because you're telling your listener, I'm not done yet, and now I'm done. I'll say the sentence and you repeat. Use your exaggerated intonation. Would you like tea or coffee? Are you coming Monday or Tuesday? Did you want to meet at my place or your place? Should I get the red one or the blue one? Should I take it or leave it? Did you practice or just wing it? And lastly, let's talk about tag questions. Tag questions kind of come under the umbrella of when we break rules in intonation. A tag question is when a statement is presented in the form of a question. So it's being disguised as a question, it's really a statement. Tricksters. Who would do this? People use tag questions when they kind of expect the listener to just agree with them. And we do this all the time. We do it when we're pretty much sure or almost certain that the listener will agree with us. So really what's happening is we're using a question with a falling intonation at the end. If we're actually unsure of the answer and we want an actual response that we're not sure of, then the intonation will be your typical upward intonation. So when you're listening to an English speaker, you can't always pay attention to the words they're saying. They physically asked a question, but their intonation is what told you what they really meant. And you have to decide that as a listener. Tag questions often present as little tails at the end of a statement, like, isn't it? Don't you think? Didn't I? Do I? It's a little tail at the end that throws it off. Because those tails are now used in a downward intonation, it's like, isn't it? Don't I? Didn't you? Does the speaker really want me to answer their question and give them my true honest opinion? Or are they just looking for me to agree with them? If the intonation is going up at the end, then they're looking for a legitimate answer. And if at the end you notice a downward intonation, then just agree. That's what they're looking for. Or don't and just have a fun conversation and see what happens. Be crazy. Let's do some examples of tag questions. I'm going to say the sentence in either an upward or downward intonation using a tag question. You decide if I'm just looking for you to confirm and agree, or if I want a real answer. Let's practice and I'll give you the answer at the end. In these examples, I'm not going to show my face because of course meaning is also conveyed through our body language, our facial expressions. So I'm not going to give you those kinds of clues. No, not here. He isn't here today, is he? Nobody's called for me, have they? I don't need to finish this today, do I? I made this joke already, didn't I? I'm never late, am I? I'm gonna get an email about that later, aren't I? It's so cold outside, isn't it? John's working today, isn't he? My baby's adorable, isn't she? My new jeans are great, aren't they? Sarah didn't come back yet, did she? She already finished it, didn't she? Yesterday was so much fun, wasn't it? You haven't seen this movie yet, have you? You could hear me, couldn't you? Your brother hadn't met her before, had he? Your sister came to visit today, didn't she? He can't drive, can he? And if you're looking for information just like this, I'm going to show you even more, so subscribe, that way you'll get it all. If you want to take your skills to the next level, jump on this video because that's where we're going to get really good practice so that you can master it and you can get really, really quick and natural and confident at using all these different types of intonation so that you're awesome at it. So I'll see you right over there. Bye!